Lagos Talks
91.3.
News.
President Muhammad Buhari has reassured that participation of citizens in democracy will continue to be encouraged through freedom of speech and robust political discourse. The president had stated this when he received letters of credence from ambassadors and high commissioners of 6 countries at the State House Abuja yesterday. He urged respect for divergent cultures and opinions and also upholding the unity of the country. According to President Muhammad Buhari, Nigeria's strength remains in its diversity, and the constant differences in positions further signpost a strong democratic culture. The presidency says there is no state in the federation which has been authorized to procure automatic weapons for its security outfits. The president's media aide, Garba Shehu, who clarified this in a statement Tuesday, dismissed reports that the Katsina state government had been granted license to procure and operate automatic weapons. And under existing regulations, only the Office of the National Security Advisor can issue such authorization. According to Garba Shehu, President Buhari has repeatedly made it clear that no one is allowed to illegally carry AK-47s or any other automatic weapons. The presidential media aide also quoted the president as urging leaders at various levels to exercise restraint in their speech, more so as the country approaches the political season. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has raised the monetary policy rate, the MPR, to 15.5% from 14% as an economic measure to tame rising inflation. CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele, who made this known after an MPC meeting in Abuja held Tuesday, said the committee voted unanimously to raise the monetary policy rate. The MPC voted to raise the MPR to 15.5%, retain the asymmetric corridor at plus 100, minus 700 basis points around the MPR, increase the cash reserve ratio, the CRR, to a minimum of 32.5% and retain liquidity ratio at 30%. The Senate passed a bill amending the Court of Appeal Act 2013, increasing the number of justices of the Court of Appeal from 90 to 110. This followed the adoption yesterday of the report of the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters by Chairman of the committee, Senator Obi Mikel. In his lead debate, Bamidele said the bill, sponsored by Senator Chukwuka Otazi, sought to increase the number of justices of the Court of Appeal. According to him, the legislative intent of the amendment is to ensure the court has the requisite manpower to allow cooperation of all the divisions of the court. The Presidential Campaign Council of the ruling All Progressives Congress, the APC, has postponed the commencement of its campaigns earlier scheduled for today, Wednesday, as the electioneering period starts. This was disclosed by the Director General of the Tinubu Shetima Presidential Campaign Council and Governor of Plateau State, Simon Lalong, in a Tuesday statement. Lalong had explained that the adjustment of the timetable was a result of the move to expand the campaign council list to accommodate more stakeholders. He said a new date for the kickoff of the campaign will be made public. Military veterans continue their protests on Tuesday over the delay in the payment of 134 billion naira security debarment allowance, which had been approved by President Muhammad Buhari back in April. The veterans began the protest on Monday this week in front of the Ministry of Defense in Abuja, during which they explained that the SDA, the security debarment allowance, was an allowance paid to every veteran in order to debar them from using their military skills against the state. It will be recalled that the Minister of Defense, General Bashir Magashi, retired, had, while announcing the presidential approval for the allowance, said that the money was for military veterans earlier excluded who retired earlier than November 9, 2017, and the money will be paid over a period of 3 to 5 years as government would not be able to pay the funds at once. However, the National Coordinator of Retired Members of Nigerian Armed Forces, Abiodun Durowaye Herbert, said the funds was approved in April this year, and yet the money has not been paid, as at yesterday, Tuesday. Durowaye Herbert had told newsmen that the protest will continue until the sum was released to all of them, as a series of letters written to the Minister of Defense had received no feedback. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, the NDLEA, has destroyed the 1.8 tons of cocaine recovered by its personnel from a warehouse in the Ikorodu area of Lagos last week. In a short statement on Twitter, however, the NDLEA spokesperson, Mr. Femi Babafemi, had clarified that indeed some of the drugs, about 27.5 kg of cocaine from the seizure, had been secured for the purpose of prosecuting the suspects in court. Its Director of Media and Advocacy, Femi Babafemi, on Tuesday had also recalled that the NDLEA had a well-coordinated and intelligence-led operation which lasted about 2 days last week, stormed a hidden warehouse in an estate in Ikorodu where the haul was recovered, and 5 suspects, including a Jamaican, were arrested. Speaking at the venue of the public destruction of the haul on Tuesday, the head of the NDLEA, Buba Marwa, represented by the agency's Director, Prosecution and Legal Services, Sunday Joseph, said the sheer volume of the drug haul, with a street value put at $278 million, equivalent to 194 billion naira, speaks volume about the extent of the nefarious activities of the drug underworld. The Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has recalled that in the last 3.5 years, the state has developed and implemented initiatives, policies and programs which have directly benefited women. According to the governor, the initiatives include skills acquisition, financial support and medical support to vulnerable and indigent women, amongst others. The governor, who spoke on the theme, the Emerging Woman, at the 2022 Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation WAPA, identified that the real issues which must be of concern to everyone is how to support, inspire and encourage emerging young women to arrive at their destination against all odds going forward as a matter of policy. Commissioner for Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Honorable Mrs. Cecilia Bolaji Dada, had earlier called for more opportunities for women in Lagos in order to boost the economy of the state.
Our mandates from the Ministry of Women Affairs and Poverty Alleviation remains building resourceful women in order to improve the lives of female residents, as Lagos State has zero tolerance to idleness of any form.
And I'll take a look at stories making the headlines in the foreign scene. Kenya's President William Ruto has unveiled a 25-member cabinet 2 weeks after being sworn in as the country's 5th president. The 25-member team consists of well-known politicians, some ardent supporters, and new faces. The initial public reaction has been mixed, as some have praised the team, others have pointed out that some of the members are facing charges in court or have tainted reputations. Others in Kenya have pointed that Mr. Ruto has broken a campaign promise to name a gender-equal cabinet. Trafalgar Square in central London is set to get a new statue today, Wednesday. The historic site will feature a larger-than-life statue of Malawian Baptist preacher and Pan-Africanist John Chilembwe, who fought against British colonial rule. The sculpture, named Antelope, will be the square's newest 4th plinth, which is regarded as one of the world's most famous public art commissions. Chilembwe's 5-meter statue, cast in bronze, will mark the first of an African in Trafalgar Square. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has openly criticized the UK government over its plan for tax cuts, warning that the measures are likely to fuel the cost of living crisis. In a statement on Tuesday, the IMF said the proposal would be likely to increase inequality and add to pressures pushing up prices, although the UK government says the measures will kickstart economic growth. The IMF works to stabilize the global economy, and one of its roles is to act as an early economic warning system. And now look at business news, where the Advertising Regulatory Council of Nigeria, ARCON, has unveiled activities lined up for the 2nd edition of the National Advertising Conference, scheduled to hold between November 29th and the 1st of December this year in Abuja. Speaking on Tuesday at a press briefing in Lagos, Chairman of the Conference Planning Committee, Tunji Adeyinka, says the objective of the conference is to continue to foster engagements and discussions within players in the advertising ecosystem and also bring topics which elevate the industry.
The first topic we'll be talking about the Nigerian economy. We'll be talking about the size of the advertising industry, the market. What is the size? We'll be talking about brands, national brands, and how to build brands and how those brands can become national assets. We'll be talking about the new Alcon law. The second day, we'll be talking about topics around inclusiveness within the industry. We'll be talking about new developments in media measurements. We'll be talking about creating digital experiences. We'll be talking about regulating digital advertising. We'll be talking about data. We'll be talking.
Veteran broadcaster Kenny Ogungbe, who represented the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, says the conference will open more opportunities for all stakeholders in the industry.
Well, the conference is good. The conference is also opening, definitely it will open up the market for progressive development. Not only the media that is being progressive, but the engine behind media will also be progressive. People can be paid higher. You get paid by advertisers, you increase salaries. You yourself, you enjoy it. And the payment of salary will be on time without delaying the salaries. It's an ecosystem that will affect everybody, hopefully, if they agree.
The domestic stock market on Tuesday closed on a negative note, with market indices dropping by 0.56%. Specifically, the market capitalization shed 15 billion naira to close at 26.517 trillion naira, while the all-share index lost 27.87 points to close at 49,161.45. The weak performance was driven by sell-off in shares of Guarantee Trust Holding Company, GTCO, United Bank for Africa, UBA, and Axis Holding and FBN Holdings. Consequently, the year-to-date return fell to 15.09%. Market breadth closed negative as 17 stocks declined, while 14 advanced. Transcorp was the most active stock, exchanging 38.46 million shares worth 38.99 million naira, and a total of 139.24 million shares valued at 1.60 billion naira were exchanged in 3,421 deals. And now sports. Some presidential candidates in the upcoming NFF elections have expressed optimism that the elective Congress will still go ahead as scheduled on Friday in Benin City. A cross-section of some presidential candidates had spoken to newsmen after a crucial meeting with the Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, yesterday in Abuja. They noted that nothing has changed, adding that the election will still go ahead as scheduled September 30, despite a court order on the 15th of September, putting the NFF elections on hold. Justice Nyangekwo, in a ruling on ex-parte motion, had moved by counsel for the claimants, Celsus Ukbong, ordering the minister, Pinnick, or any person acting on their instruction to maintain status quo. In the meantime, the Super Eagles failed to hold on to their early lead on Tuesday in Oran to lose 2-1 to host Algeria in an international friendly. Terem Murphy gave the Nigerian side a 9th-minute lead. However, Manchester City forward Riyad Mahrez drew Algeria level with a penalty kick goal in the 41st minute. Midfielder Youssef Attal scored in the 61st minute to hand the Desert Foxes the lead and ultimately win the match. The Desert Foxes are now unbeaten in their last 4 games against the Super Eagles. And also to mention, former Super Eagles of Nigeria captain and Chelsea star John Mikel has announced his retirement from professional football. Mikel career spanned over 20 years, where he played for clubs like Lille, Oslo, Chelsea, Stoke City and others. He also won the UEFA Champions League with Chelsea in 2012, which was the first Champions League trophy for the London club. On the international scene, Obi scored 6 times, won the 2013 AFCON, a bronze medal for the country at the 2016 Olympics, and had 91 caps for Nigeria.
Lagos Talks
91.3.
News.